Jesus' epic revelation, the shocking truth he revealed at midnight. In the small town of Cedar Grove, the clock struck midnight, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was electric, charged with an unshakable tension that seemed to pulse through the air. People huddled in their homes, eyes glued to flickering candles as whispers of an extraordinary event began to ripple through the darkness. A figure cloaked in mystery emerged from the shadows, claiming to bear a truth so profound it would shatter their reality. Jesus had returned, and with him, a revelation that would change everything, the first curious element. The clouds overhead twisted into shapes that looked strikingly like the faces of saints, watching and waiting, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. A low hum vibrated in the air, causing windows to rattle and hearts to race. It felt like the very fabric of the universe had shifted, sliding into something unexpected. Just moments before, the townsfolk had been safely wrapped in their ordinary rhythms, but now was a different story, as if the normal rules had been rewritten. Tension thickened as they gathered outside, voices rising in disbelief and excitement. What could this mean? Gasped Sarah, clutching a friend's arm, her eyes wide with anticipation and fear. Is this for real? Murmured Tom, an old skeptic whose eyes darted around for any sign of a trick. All around them, excitement crackled like static, and a sense of collective urgency held them captive beneath the glorious spectacle above, and then it happened. Out of the swirling mist, a booming voice beckoned them forward, drawing them into an unholy dance of hope and dread. Come forth. I bring the message. Echoed through the streets. In those moments, the ground felt alive beneath their trembling feet. People exchanged nervous glances, hearts pounding like drums. Who would dare step into the unknown? What awaited them on the edge of this midnight revelation? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Jesus stood there, bathed in moonlight, the glow about him seemed to pulse with an energy all its own. A crowd slowly formed, urging one another closer. Then, without warning, the light flickered, casting long shadows that danced unsettlingly across the ground. Gasps erupted like wildfire, eyes widened in unmistakable shock. What would Jesus reveal? What hidden truths could alter their existence forever? The atmosphere thickened with expectation and fear. The crowd edged closer, caught between the delight of discovery and the dread of the unknown. What might they find out when morning came? The crowd held its breath, every muscle tensed in anticipation. Jesus raised his arms wide, as if to embrace the entire town, and began to speak. His voice, rich and melodic, flowed over them like warm honey. People of Cedar Grove, you have gathered here, drawn by the sparks of truth. But what you seek is not simply knowledge, it is a transformation of your very souls. A gasp rippled through the audience. The air grew thick with the scent of lilies, an aroma so potent it was as if heaven itself had descended into Cedar Grove. Yet, amid the fragrance, ominous shadows swirled, creeping closer, reminding everyone of the darkness just beyond the light. What do you mean? Shouted Tom, edging toward the front, a mix of skepticism and fervent need in his voice. What revelation is so powerful it could change us? Jesus' gaze locked onto Tom, piercing yet gentle. You are not just followers, you are the chosen. But to embrace this destiny, you must confront your deepest fears. He stepped closer, his presence commanding, yet reassuring. The stars above flickered as if whispering secrets to one another. Fear? Sarah dared to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. What fears? The fear of connection, the fear of confrontation, and most importantly, the fear of love. Jesus replied, each word echoing in the stillness. You have conditioned yourselves to shy away from pain, believing it to be your enemy, when in fact, it is the very thing that binds you together. As his words filled the air, some in the crowd shifted uneasily. The intensity grew, shadows thickened at the edges of their vision. Anna, a single mother, clutched her daughter tighter, feeling her heart race. What truth could possibly lie in pain? The darkness responded with a low growl. An unholy terror crept forward, sidling up next to the townsfolk, melding with their doubts. They could almost feel its cold breath against their skin. Fear has masked your hearts from recognizing your purpose. You fear vulnerability so much that you barricade yourselves within illusions of safety. Jesus continued, undeterred by the chilling presence looming nearby. But within that pain is power, within that love is freedom. A shudder ran through the crowd. Some looked around, wide-eyed and trembling, while others stepped back, hearts pounding with alarm. How could love be the answer when it felt like weakness? When all around them, the whispers of doubts and shadows of their past clung like shrouds, just then, a wind swept through, powerful and chaotic. The ground beneath them trembled, disrupting their collective fear with the rage of something ancient. The crowd stumbled, gasping as the darkness breached the edges of their light. Listen! Jesus shouted, lifting his voice above the howl. Do not stand against the storm. Embrace it. Face your fears together. Only then can the true truth be revealed. But before they could respond, the shadows surged forward, swirling, encroaching upon the light that Jesus embodied. Desperation filled the air as the townsfolk wrestled with the ground, fighting to remain steady. Fear clawed at their hearts, whispering urgencies that begged them to retreat. Amidst the chaos, Sarah stepped forward, compelled by an unseen force. Her heart raced in rhythm with the universe, wondering if this was the moment for her awakening. Would she be brave enough to face not only the external darkness but the shadows of her own doubts? As her feet reached the edge of the light, a thunderous roar erupted through the night, drowning out her thoughts and making her soul tremble. Would she make the leap into the unknown, the brink of revelation? Or would fear pull her back into the shadows, away from the transformative power that awaited? The air crackled with anticipation, and in that breathless moment, everything teetered on the edge. What would Sarah choose? And would the rest find their courage to step into the light? The moment stretched, taut as a bowstring. Heart pounding, Sarah stared into the abyss of uncertainty before her. The chaos around her felt intoxicating, echoed by the cacophony of frightened whispers and cries. Her thoughts raced. Did she dare step into the unknown? Suddenly, the ground shook violently, sending her stumbling back. The crowd surged forward, panic igniting like wildfire. Faces twisted in fear, eyes wide with terror as the shadows wrapped tighter around them. Sarah! Anna's frantic voice cut through the din, her grip tightening on her daughter. Get back! It's not safe. But something about the darkness called to Sarah. It wasn't just fear, it was familiarity. A lifetime of buried pain surged forward, a ticking clock urging her to face it now. The shadows could not be ignored. No! She shouted back, surprising herself with the force of her resolve. We can't run anymore. At her words, a sudden hush fell over the crowd. They turned to her, surprise mingling with confusion. Tom's brow furrowed in disbelief. Are you serious? He asked, disbelief coloring his tone. You think we can just face it? Maybe facing it is the only way forward. Sarah replied, her voice rising above the tumult, clarity slicing through the fear like a knife. What if Jesus is right? What if we need this to go through the darkness to find the light? Jesus stood watching, a knowing smile creeping across his lips. The wind swirled around him, crackling with electric energy. Yes, Sarah, he called out, his voice steady and firm. Find your truth. Embrace your fears. At the sound of his encouragement, an ember ignited in the hearts of some in the crowd. Slowly, Tom stepped closer to Sarah. You really think we can do this? He asked, his voice a mix of hope and anxiety. We have to, she replied, feeling a surge of courage. We'll be stronger if we face it together. Alone, this darkness will consume us. In that pivotal moment, a crack formed in the shadows. Light poured through like liquid gold, illuminating their faces. The sense of hope and despair mixed. Sarah's heart raced. With each passing second, the choice became clearer, the connection with those around her stronger. The shadows hissed, swirling in a desperate frenzy, resisting the light as if it were poison. Desperation echoed anew in the crowd. Fear screamed for retreat, warning them to back down, yet an unexplainable warmth seeped into Sarah's soul. "Can you feel it?" she shouted. "The light is within us. We are stronger than our shadows." With newfound determination, the townsfolk began taking small steps toward her. One by one, they reached out, fingers brushing against each other, feet shuffling as if drawn by an invisible force. The darkness roared, swirling violently, trying to push them apart. Panic clawed at the edges of their hearts. But with every step forward, the light intensified, thick as a warm blanket wrapping around them in defiance of the cold shadows. "Together," Jesus urged, his hands raised wide, as though summoning every ounce of strength from the heavens. "Together, you can conquer." And they moved as one, a collective force, inching toward the edge of the light. Familiar faces glimmered, eyes glistening with resolve and trembling hope. But just as they neared safety, the darkness surged one last time, roaring louder than ever. Power flickered, screams echoed. The very ground shook beneath them, as if the universe itself debated whether they could truly withstand this reckoning. Outside the light, souls were laid bare. Would the townsfolk find their strength in connection and vulnerability? Or would the shadows snatch them back into despair? As unity challenged darkness, Sarah's heart thundered, struggling to keep pace with the chaos unfolding. Just then, a sharp, blinding light erupted from Jesus, illuminating every shadow, breaking the silence with its brilliance. What lay beyond this moment? Would they seize the dawn, or would they stumble back into the abyss? A new chapter awaited, filled with triumph or tragedy. The light surged, a cosmic pulse that reverberated through the very core of Sarah's being. She blinked against the sudden brilliance, but fear retreated, battling with urgency. It was now or never. The whispers of dread faded, replaced by the shimmering echoes of hope that hung in the air like a melody. "Keep going," she urged the townsfolk, her words buoyed by an inexplicable strength. Each step toward the light was a declaration of defiance against the shadows that loomed just outside its reach. Sensing the unity of those around her, she felt their fears shift, like wind before an approaching storm. But then, something shifted in the air. A chill swept through the crowd as the darkness began to ripple and take form. Shapes twisted against the light, grotesque and mocking. Faces warped and snarled, each filled with familiar pain and regret. "Don't look!" Anna shouted, covering her eyes. "We have to go back." "Anna, no!" Sarah cried, her heart racing as she seized her mother's arm. "Those are just illusions. They can't hurt us if we don't let them." Hands tightened around hers, anchoring her against the wave of memories clawing at her mind. Each face that materialized in the darkness whispered secrets of failure and grief, dredging up a past Sarah thought she had buried deep down. And yet, through that weight, she felt the warmth of those beside her pushing against the darkness, merging their light into one collective force. "Focus on what's real," Jesus called out, his voice rising above the sinister whispers. "Each of you carries light. Embrace it." His presence calmed the chaos swirling inside Sarah, igniting a fire in her chest. "We are not defined by our shadows," she shouted, letting the words spill from her heart. "We are stronger, smarter, and braver together. Let us break through." Faces turned toward her, eyes brightening with recognition. They were shadows, yes, but they were also pieces of their own stories. As they confronted their pasts, the townsfolk could transform what once felt like a burden into a badge of survival. Each acknowledgement was an act of reclamation, but the darkness responded violently, tendrils reaching out, desperate to claw them back. The ground trembled beneath them, an angry beast warning of impending doom. "I can't do this," Tom blurted, fear flooding his voice. "What if I fall back? What if I—" "Tom, listen." Sarah's voice sliced through the despair, piercing like a beacon. "We're not alone. Take my hand." She reached out, her fingers trembling yet unwavering. He hesitated for just a moment, then stepped toward her, gripping her palm tightly. The connection sparked a surge of energy. One by one, hands began to intertwine, tethering them in a web of solidarity against the chaos. Together, they shouted in unison, a declaration louder than the thunderous roars of the shadows. Time seemed to halt. The darkness hesitated as it felt the pulse of their united strength pushing back. Light crackled and buzzed, weaving around them like a protective cocoon. Racing forward, Sarah led the charge, heart galloping in her chest. Every step drew them closer to that blinding glow ahead, but just as victory seemed within grasp, a scream pierced the air. Fear seized her, a memory crashing over her like a cold wave. "No. Someone." She gasped, then she saw it. Anna had stumbled, lost her footing. Panic fractured her thoughts. "Mom!" The crowd hesitated. The shadows lunged, reaching hungrily for the gap. And in that moment of hesitation, Sarah realized they were at a precipice. Would they sacrifice one to save many? Or would they lose everything by failing to act? As the shadows clawed closer, Sarah's resolve hardened. The choice was never hers alone. Would they save Anna? What would they risk to confront their deepest fears? In the flickering light, one question hung like a bell tolling in the night: would they embrace unity, or succumb to the shadows' call? "Mom!" Sarah's voice cracked, panic rising like bile in her throat. The scene felt suspended in time, a moment stretched too thin to breathe. Her eyes darted to the flickering shadows, vicious and relentless. They were hungry, and they sensed weakness. "Keep going!" Jesus shouted, his voice powerful, cutting through the chaos like a knife. "You can't give in now. Don't let fear dictate your fate." The townspeople grouped tighter around Sarah, their faces pale and trembling, but indignation began to spark in some of their eyes. They were not just terrified, they were furious at the darkness that dared to challenge their will. "Drop your fear," Sarah shouted, willing her body to move. She could feel Anna's terror, feel the pull of the shadows trying to siphon their strength. "We fight for our light. Together." With renewed urgency, she reached toward her mother, willing the grip of her hand to draw Anna back into the fold. "Mom! Take my hand." Anna's eyes flickered open, confusion mixing with terror. The shadows twisted closer, their shapes clawing at the ground as if eager to swallow her whole. I can't, Mom." Tears stung Sarah's eyes. "You're not alone. Just trust me." For a heartbeat, the world tilted. In the cold grip of the dark, Anna seemed to falter, uncertainty etched across her features. But as those tendrils lunged at her, the warmth of Sarah's outstretched hand became a beacon. "Mom! Please!" Something raw and fierce ignited in Sarah. Her heart thundered, a primal beat urging her ahead. With a sudden gasp, Anna lunged forward, grasping Sarah's hand. In that instant, the connection fired like electricity, and Sarah felt a rush of light surge through them. It was strength not just hers, but the collective energy of the crowd united against the dark. "Now!" Jesus yelled, his voice pushing through the suffocating despair. The light around them flared, soaring higher, vanquishing shadows that hissed and shrieked in distress. The ground shook again, angry like a beast refusing to submit, but Sarah didn't waver. Her eyes locked onto her mother's, their bond an unbreakable tether. In a rush of courage, the townsfolk pushed forward, hands entwined, hearts synchronized. They surged in unison, moving as one living entity through the shadows, embodying resilience against every past hurt that had clawed at their souls. But then a deafening roar erupted from the darkness, a cacophony of torment and despair. "No! It howled, the sounds of anguished voices rising as phantoms recoiled from the bright light now radiating from the crowd. "Keep going," Sarah urged, feeling the collective heartbeat of those around her as they pressed deeper into the light. But shadows lashed out again, searching for any sign of weakness. "We can't stop. We have to push through." Suddenly, a torrent of darkness surged forward, claws reaching for Anna. "Hold on!" Sarah shouted, her voice fierce, but a thought crept into her mind, a chilling whisper that twisted her insides. What if they weren't fast enough? What if their power faltered just as they reached safety? The shadows screeched as a surge of darkness broke through their shield, gripping Anna's leg. The moment teetered on the edge of catastrophe. "Mom!" Sarah's scream echoed, raw and electric with dread. She yanked on Anna's hand, fighting back against the darkness that threatened to pull her mother into its abyss. "Don't let go." With strength drawn from a place deeper than any fear, Sarah pushed forward, and in that instant, she realized she had a choice. A choice to fight harder than ever, a choice to embody everything the light represented. The shadows clawed at Anna, vicious and relentless. But Sarah could feel their grip weakening. As they barreled towards the light, exhilaration clashed with dread. Would they make it? Would they usher in a new dawn, or would they lose everything to despair? With a last-ditch effort, they surged forward, but then something shifted. A familiar face materialized in the darkness. It loomed larger than life, haunting, pressing against Sarah's very soul. "Sarah," the voice beckoned, familiar. Yet distorted, filled with promises and dangers alike. In that moment, as she confronted the shadows of her past, one question lingered in her heart: would she possess the strength to face the truth? Would it be her salvation or her undoing? "Sarah." The voice echoed again, sending a shiver down her spine. It was not just an echo, it felt like a pulse, beating in time with her frantic heart. Her breath hitched as the shadow pushed closer, wearing the face of someone she had lost long ago. "Stay strong," Jesus shouted, his determination radiating through the fog of despair. He had seized a heavy branch, wielding it like a sword against the encroaching dark, eyes lit with a fierce fire. But Sarah's focus was trapped in that face, her mind whirling with memories. "No!" she screamed, tearing her gaze away. "I want to let you win." She gripped her mother's hand tighter, drawing courage from Anna's presence. "Let go of me. Let me be free." The shadow retorted, morphing, swirling like smoke. It spoke with her beloved sister's voice, a mix of lament and accusation. "You don't understand. You're not meant to fight. You should run. Sarah. Move." Jesus urged, the urgency in his voice cutting through the haze. It was time to decide. "Mom, we have to leave," Sarah said, determination flooding her voice. With each second that passed, she felt the weight of their shared fear pressing against her, threatening to choke the light from her resolve. "Stay with me." "No." The shadow howled, clawing at the edges of Sarah's mind, trying to break her focus. The pit inside her tightened as it hurled one more memory her way, a moment of weakness, a mistake that had haunted her. "You're not enough. You never were." The townspeople around her began to falter, whispers of doubt curling through the air. What if she's right? One voice questioned, his resolve crumbling like old wood beneath a storm. What if we fail? Shut up! Sarah shouted, rage flaring within her. We can't give in. We're stronger together. Fueled by desperation, she pulled Anna closer, channeling every ounce of love and belief she felt into their clasped hands. A brilliant light erupted from their connection, blinding in its intensity. It sliced through the shadows like a knife, pushing the darkness back and clawing at its essence, but it wasn't enough. The shadow, still pushing against the light, kept snatching at her thoughts, whispering lies. You think you're a savior? You can't even save yourself. Stop! Sarah bellowed, feeling the pressure build within her. She had to confront this. It was a personal battle, not just for survival, but for acceptance for the truth of who she was. "Mom, believe in us," she cried out, her voice breaking, yet resolute. "We can't let the dark define us." Suddenly, another figure stepped forth from the shadows. The manifestation of Sarah's fears morphed again, taking on the face of a once trusted friend who had betrayed her. "You'll always be haunted by your past," it sneered, each word dripped in venom, keen to slice through her hope. "You can't outrun what you are." "No." Fury ignited in her chest. "I am not my mistakes. I am stronger than you." She thrust her free hand outward, and the light exploded from her once more, an unyielding blast that pushed against the darkness in a formidable wave. The shadows recoiled, wailing in anguish. But through the chaos, the voices of the townspeople strengthened, binding together against the tide. "We're with you," they shouted in unison. "Together, we are unstoppable." As the wave of light surged forward, Sarah felt her heart synchronize with the pulse of the crowd. Every beat knit them closer, forging a radiant tapestry of resilience. But just as they broke through, a chilling thought pierced her victory. What if this wasn't the end? What if the shadows were merely retreating? In the heart of the light, a flicker caught her eye, a figure emerging beyond the burst of brilliance, lurking at the edge of their victory, waiting with calculating calm. "Sarah," it whispered, mesmerizing and dreadful, and she recognized the unmistakable name of a hidden truth, one she had buried deep. Was this the final confrontation? Or just another layer of darkness waiting to be unraveled? "Who are you?" Sarah gasped, her voice trembling as the figure stepped closer, a dark silhouette peeling away from the fading shadows. Every inch it moved felt like a cold grip tightening around her heart. "Don't you recognize me?" The voice dripped with familiarity, yet it sent ice down her spine. It was a voice that used to bring her comfort, now twisted into something sinister. Clarity hit her with the force of a thunderclap. "It's time you face your real enemy." The townspeople held their breath, a collective stillness descending, their hopeful chants silenced by confusion. Jesus stood tall, defiance radiating from him as he held the branch tightly. "Stay back. Whatever you think you are, you won't find purchase here." But the figure merely chuckled, a sound that echoed like distant thunder over the open fields. "Brave words, little man. But you forget, the battle is not just with shadows. It's with the truth you've hidden from your own heart." "Enough!" Sarah shouted, squeezing her eyes shut as if that would block out the memory. She willed herself to stand firm, but the shadows rippled beside her, an agonizing reminder of the past that had resurfaced like a ghost haunting her every step. "Facing me means facing your choices, Sarah." The figure flicked a finger, and memories surged up within her, broken promises, moments lost to fear, and choices that had cost her dearly. "Remember when you abandoned me? When you turned away from the darkness?" "No." Sarah shook her head violently, her thoughts spiraling. "You're not real. You're just a trick." Yet she felt every word like a knife slicing through her resolve. The townspeople murmured nervously, glancing at one another, sensing her unraveling. The entity before her changed shape again, morphing into shadows of all her past connections, friendships lost, love tossed aside, and the joy that had once felt like an anchor. "You've run from me for too long. Are you really willing to let those you love suffer for your cowardice?" Cowardice? The word ignited a fire inside her. "I fought for them. I fought for us." The light flickered, underscoring her feelings of betrayal, and with a sudden rush, she felt the weight of their expectations pressing down like lead. "Did you? Or did you convince yourself being brave meant standing alone?" The figure's tone became mocking. "You think your light means anything? You are just a reflection of your mistakes." A shadow loomed behind Sarah, wrapping around her like an embrace. She flinched, instinctively stepping back, feeling her heart race. "Mom, help me!" she cried, desperation spilling from her eyes as she turned to Anna. "Don't listen to it, baby." Anna's voice was fierce, cutting through the darkness. You are not your past. You are so much more. But doubt chewed at the edges of Sarah's mind. What if I am? She murmured, glancing back, horrified by the depth of her own despair. Your past is a part of you, but it's not all of you. Jesus shouted, his voice breaking through the suffocating fog surrounding her. You can reclaim who you are. They are rising with you. Sarah took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment of clarity. She held on to the glimmer of hope, the pulse of faith that had carried her through. But as she embraced the light pouring out from her friends and family, something deeper stirred within her, a truth she had skirted around for far too long. What do you really want, Sarah? The figure asked, its tone shifting as it confronted her directly with her own power. To be free of me? Or to finally make me part of who you are? Her head spun. She knew the decision lay before her, a forked path. But just when she felt a surge of courage build inside her, a new shadow emerged. This one felt stronger, darker, a force that both frightened and intrigued her. Sarah. It breathed her name with an intimacy that threatened to engulf her heart. Her breath hitched in her throat. Who was it this time? What were they ready to reveal? Could she really confront her truth? Or would fear separate her from the hope she felt blossoming in the light? Sarah. The voice lingered in the air, wrapping itself around her like tendrils of smoke. Every fiber of her being screamed for answers, but her feet felt cemented to the ground. The chilling shadow drew closer, its form shifting and vibrating, as if struggling to maintain a shape. Then, with a shimmer of darkness, it revealed a face, a perfect reflection of Sarah but twisted with anguish. You left me, it hissed, shifting to mirror her every movement with an eerie precision. You thought turning away would keep you safe. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. No, I was trying to protect you. She stammered, although even she could hear the uncertainty in her own voice. The memories flooded back, a torrent that nearly swept her away, the arguments, the abandonment, the guilt that gnawed like a wild animal. Protect me? Or protect yourself? The doppelganger grinned, revealing sharp, predatory teeth. You're lying to yourself, just like you always have. You didn't just leave me behind, you buried me. The townspeople shifted nervously, exchanging glances that spoke volumes. Fear hung palpably in the air. Jesus, holding the branch like a staff, stepped forward, aiming to break the suffocating silence. You're not her. He bellowed, espousing the authority of a man refusing to let darkness win. The entity twisted into a serpentine form, recoiling at Jesus's declaration. Not her. I am everything she fears to acknowledge. I am her shadow. The voice rose, becoming a cacophony of anguished cries that echoed across the night. She can't outrun me. None of you can. A jolt of revelation struck Sarah. The shadows had come to taunt her, yes, but also to challenge her. She wasn't just fighting the monster, it was a part of her, the half she denied. The terror and the heartache swirled within her like a storm. Jesus caught her eye, urging her to see the truth in his gaze. This is the moment, Sarah. You need to accept your darkness to truly embrace your light. The urgency in his voice ignited something within her. But how? She shouted, desperation ringing in her tone. The other Sarah smirked, confidence radiating like the morning sun reflected off fading night. There's no way out, Sarah. You'll always be haunted by what you've done. Sarah's heart pounded, tears brimming as she remembered the warmth and safety she once felt before the shadows snatched it all away. But she also remembered the light, the love and connections she had nurtured among the townsfolk. I want to let you win. I know what I've done, and I refuse to let you control me. A low growl emerged as the shadowy figure recoiled, shocked by her defiance. You think words mean anything? You're swimming against the tide, and soon you'll drown. But Sarah felt the shimmer of hope beginning to solidify inside her. I'm not drowning. I'm finding my way back to myself. The townspeople began to murmur, perhaps her clarity was a guiding light they could cling to. The darkness snarled and lunged, but Sarah stood firm, feeling the warmth of Jesus and Anna envelop her. Face it together, Jesus urged, stepping closer, offering solidarity. A strong wind whipped around them, stirring the shadows. Sarah lifted her arms, feeling the heat of resolve pushing back against the cold. I embrace my past. Every scar, every mistake. I will not let you define me. The shadow froze, simmering beneath the weight of her words. There was a crack, a fissure in the dark. No. It shrieked, the sound reverberating through the atmosphere, fierce yet laced with fear. But beyond the chaos, a light began to blossom, a golden hue spilling from Sarah's heart. I'm here. She shouted, shaking with power. And I'm not afraid. The darkness writhed, its form splintering, releasing a torrent of rage. Sarah's courage surged, but in the midst of the brightening, a new silhouette emerged, one that brought the air to a halt. Sarah, are you ready for the ultimate truth? A voice thundered from the shadows, deeper and more commanding than any before. Tension spiraled around her. What more could the shadows hold? Show me. Sarah demanded, lifting her chin defiantly, as the specter advanced. The figure loomed larger, shrouded in darkness yet glowing with uncertainty, as the other shadows writhed in frantic disarray. What truth was waiting to unravel in the heart of this confrontation? Fear and resolve tangled within her as she braced herself for what lay ahead. The answer hung in the air, heavy and electric. Would she be able to confront the ultimate reality hidden within herself? Or would the shadows drown her once and for all? The wind howled around Sarah, carrying with it the chilling whispers of the shadow. You think you can just confront me? You're more than just your guilt, Sarah. You're also your darkest desires, your rage, your regrets, the very things you try to deny. She felt the weight of those words press down on her, a leaden shroud struck from her past. In her heart, dread twisted like a knife. The townsfolk watched in silence, faces flickering with confusion and fear, their hopes dangling in the balance. Jesus stood tall beside her, defiance carved deep into his features, the branch in his hand firm and ready. Don't listen. He shouted, a beacon of strength. Face it. Own what you've done. Only then can you unleash the light within. A loud crack echoed through the surrounding darkness, and the figure before her contorted, morphing into a grotesque form of all her fears, her childhood mistakes, friendships shattered, and bittersweet memories replaying like a cracked film reel. Look at what you've become, it taunted, its voice now a mocking sing-song. You think you're ready to confront me? Look at your life. The ruins you've created. Trust me, I'm not just in your mind. I am you, Sarah. Stop it. She cried, each word a plea and a shield. The townspeople flinched, some taking a step back as the shadows clawed toward them, reaching out like skeletal hands. Anna gripped Jesus' arm, fear etched across her face. Can she do this? She whispered, uncertainty pouring from her eyes. Yes. Jesus affirmed, but something deeper than confidence whispered within him. Sarah, listen to me. It's time to unmask the truth. We all have darkness in us, but it's what we choose to do with it that defines our journey. Sarah took a deep breath, capturing the warmth of Jesus' words. They coalesced in her mind, providing a firm foundation amidst the turmoil. She pushed back against the fear, her heart gaining strength. I won't let you use my past against me. I've made my choices, and while they haunt me, they don't dictate my future. The figure howled, the sound splitting the night like thunder, and as if the universe itself responded, the ground shook beneath her feet. A jolt of fear made her heart race, but she held her ground. She could feel power welling up inside her. You are not my end. Suddenly, the shadows lunged in unison, but Sarah raised her arms, channeling every ounce of her fear into defiance. I am more than my mistakes. I am worthy of love, connection, and happiness. The shadow backed away as if struck. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty danced in its luminous eyes. The townspeople gasped, their fear turning into hope, a ripple of energy pulsing through them. Together. We face it together. Anna shouted, stepping beside Sarah, her spirit radiating determination. We won't abandon you. Added another voice from the crowd, John, a man Sarah had known since childhood. His presence gave her strength. We're here. The shadow writhed, the dark visage crumbling before their united stand. Sarah felt the vibrations of their shared courage as they formed a circle around her, their collective light pushing away the darkness. As it shrieked, the world around them began to shift, cracks opening up beneath the shadows, revealing blinding light that spilled forth, illuminating everything. It was a light Sarah had long feared, yet yearned to embrace. You cannot banish me. The entity screamed, but its voice grew weaker, crackling like static. I am your truth. No, she replied, her voice unwavering, you are the past I choose to learn from. In that instant, she understood. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place. Sarah, it's time to test your limits, the deep voice from the encroaching shadow dared. Are you ready for what lies beneath? The truth I have held from you. She felt the collective heartbeat of her supporters, ready to stand firm with her. Yet the air felt thick, as if the atmosphere itself held its breath. What was the truth it was withholding? The figure began to dissolve, a whirlwind of smoke spiraling upward, but Sarah knew she stood on the brink of revelation. Are you ready? It asked one last time, lingering on the edge of her consciousness. The air hummed, charged with anticipation. With a trembling heart, she took a step forward. Show me. The darkness shifted, revealing a brilliant flash of light. As her reality unraveled and possibilities swirled, the shadows began to whisper secrets. What awaited her was more than she had ever imagined, an ultimate truth that could either save her or sink her into despair. In that kaleidoscope of chaos, the shadows withdrew, revealing memories Sarah had long buried. The air shimmered, sparkling like a fresh dawn, and she felt an intangible pull toward the light, a magnetic force drawing her into something vast, something beyond comprehension. The figure opened up, expanding until it connected with every fragment of her past, embracing every hurt, every joy, and every regret. Sarah, this is the confrontation you've been avoiding, it said, its voice echoing through her mind like thunder, yet softer than a whisper. The truth lies within the expanse of your choices. The light flickered, illuminating her past moments, the laughter of friends, the warmth of love, but also the chilling silence of isolation and betrayal. She stood at the precipice of realization, her heart pounding like a wild drum. Bracing herself, Sarah took a deep breath, the warmth of her mother's hand reassuring beside her. I see you. I acknowledge you. But you do not define me, she declared, her words filled with a newfound strength. The crowd around her watched, mouths agape, heartbeats sinking to the rhythm of her courage. I am not the mistakes I've made. I'm the lessons I've learned, she continued, surging forward, pushing her shadow back with every step. I'm not defeated. I am living, breathing light. Your light. The twisted figure shrieked back, its voice now raw and frantic. You think that can save you? Yes. Sarah's voice erupted, clear and fierce. We are all stronger, together. We cannot let fear drive us apart any longer. Her words sliced through the air, and the crowd began to step forward, emboldened by her determination. Anna, Tom, John, and many others intertwined their hands, creating a chain of support and unity. The light brightened, growing hotter, engulfing them in a cocoon of energy, pulling them deeper into hope and conviction. I want to go back. Sarah shouted, feeling the shadows dissipate with each word. I refuse to be chained by past mistakes. There's freedom in vulnerability. There's strength in love. Suddenly, the ground shook violently as the shadows recoiled, taken aback by the collective light fueled by their joined spirits. The darkness struggled, letting out a mournful wail, desperately trying to regain its hold. But Sarah, filled with the conviction of her community, stepped closer to the core of her fear. You may whisper those lies to me, but they no longer hold power. With every ounce of courage, she rounded up each voice in that circle of support. Each declaration echoed, resonating through the air like ripples on a pond. We embrace our light. Echoed Tom. We stand united. Anna joined in, tears streaming down her face, a mix of fear and exhilaration playing on her features, and with their unity came an explosion of brightness, a surge of golden light that shattered the oppressive darkness, driving it back like a fading storm. Shadows flickered, shrieked, and twisted until they began to evaporate, diminishing under the onslaught of their newfound resolve. Sarah, you're stronger than you know. Jesus spoke with fierce pride, the light of each person radiating bright around them as the air pulsed with energy. The truth is yours to claim. Don't forget the power of vulnerability, of connection. The shadows might have come from my past, but they cannot dictate my future. Sarah roared back, a smile breaking free as the darkness finally began to crumble. A deafening silence replaced the wails as fragments of shadow scattered like ashes on the wind. As the last vestiges of darkness vanished, the townsfolk stood together, breathless yet eager, hearts synchronized in victory. The air shifted, sweetness intertwining with relief, and a soft luminescence enveloped them. There was silence, but not emptiness. Rather, it became a canvas where hope painted the future. Looking into the eyes of the people she loved, Sarah finally felt the weight lift from her spirit. Thank you, she whispered, gratitude spilling from her heart. We did this together. And as they stood beneath the dawning sky, a new understanding burned brightly in every soul. Fear might always exist, but so too did the power to confront it and the everlasting bond forged through connection. With a smile touching every lip, the circle began to break, laughter ringing out like bells in the fresh morning light. What should we do now? John asked, excitement bubbling as he gazed toward the horizon. Live, Sarah replied, laughter in her voice. Live with our hearts wide open. Together. And as they turned to leave the darkness behind, Cedar Grove felt different. Every whisper carried the seeds of hope, the promise of new beginnings sprouting from their truth. A warm wind carried their laughter farther as the sun finally broke through, bright and victorious, illuminating not just the town, but the very souls of the people who dared to embrace their truths. The clock struck again, but this time, it was a reminder that every second mattered, an opportunity beckoning them forward. Now, with lives transformed, their journey of light truly began, and you, my friend, this is where you come in. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories that will inspire your journey. Smash that like button now, give the algorithm some love, and flush the comments section. Tell us your thoughts, reactions, and theories about Sarah's journey in these powerful moments. Remember, you need to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion and unlock their own light. Your support counts. Let us keep this community growing.